Okay, so today you can see I need to fix a pretty extensive pull in this garter stitch blanket that was a gift for my nephew. You can see how this pull has scrunched together this entire row of garter stitches, and it's essentially eliminated all of that light green space between those red stripes and pulled it as tight as it can possibly go without breaking. So to fix this, you're going to need a darning needle or a blunt tipped yarn needle, something like that, like I have here. I like to use a bent tip. And you're going to start by finding those tight stitches and pulling that excess yarn through the path of the knit stitches. Since the knit stitches are essentially just loops wrapped around other loops, you're going to be able to smooth that back through and kind of work that yarn back from where it came. So all of those tight stitches are going to be tricky to work your way into the first time, but it'll get easier as you continue to scoot things along. This isn't a straightforward process. It literally just takes some time. Well, it's simple, but it is a little time consuming. It's pretty straightforward. You just have to reappropriate that length of extra yarn back to where it came from. So I find myself stopping and stretching the garter stitch fabric out as I go so that I know that I am not pulling other stitches too tight, that I'm leaving enough of that excess yarn in each stitch spot as I go through to try to correct it. So you'll see a lot of my right hand, my dominant hand, coming into the frame to kind of squish stuff around, smooth stuff out, and a lot of stopping and looking at the texture of the fabric so that I don't get so focused on this one row that I lose sight of what the goal is that I'm working toward. So every time that I find myself still finding stitches that are too large, I go back to that area where the stitches are still stretched out or elongated or loopy with those kind of loops hanging out there, and take that needle and kind of gently tug at each leg of the knit stitch around it to the left and to the right to try to reappropriate that extra length into these stitches that are still scrunched too small near the edges of where that yarn was pulled from. So all in all, this process took me maybe 20 minutes of looking back and forth. And you can see, I see some sloppy loops there and some stitches that are significantly shorter than their neighbors. So I've still got a little bit more ways to go here. And it's a process where you just set it down, unfocus your eyes for a second, and then reattack it to keep scooting those things around. Work it until you can stretch it both directions and the spot where it was pulled isn't completely obvious to you. Look around, make sure that there's no partially torn ends or frayed ends. Once you get it close enough for jazz, as they say, you can wash and reblock this and it'll look good as new. I hope this helped.